To live a life of prayer like St. Francis of Assisi is to allow prayer to become the very rhythm of your existence, an unceasing, intimate dialogue with God that transforms not only your inner world, but your actions, relationships, and perception of reality itself. Francis did not see prayer as a duty or a ritual to be completed, but as a loving response to a God who is always present and inviting, always near. At the heart of this way of prayer is a radical trust in God's goodness. Francis believed so deeply in God's providence that he could let go of every earthly security, wealth, status, even certainty about tomorrow. This trust freed him to live with open hands and a heart unburdened by anxiety. To pray like Francis, we must first cultivate that same trust, not as a theological idea, but as a lived reality. Begin each day by consciously placing your life in God's care. Release your fears, your plans, even your desires, and say, "I am yours. Do with me what you will." This act of surrender is itself a profound prayer. Gratitude was the language Francis spoke most fluently. He didn't just thank God for obvious blessings. He saw grace in hardship, beauty in simplicity, and gifts in what others might overlook: the cold of winter, the weariness after labor, the companionship of animals. To develop this Eucharistic vision, make thankfulness a daily discipline. Keep a journal of small graces. Thank God for the water that quenches your thirst, the smile of a stranger, the quiet moment at the end of the day. Over time, this practice reshapes your vision. You begin to see the world aflame with God's presence. Francis's prayer was also deeply imitative. He didn't want to just know about Jesus. He wanted to live like Jesus. He immersed himself in the Gospels, especially the stories of Christ's humility, the washing of the feet, the embrace of lepers, the acceptance of the cross. Francis prayed with his life. He sought out the poor not as projects, but as friends. He chose humility over honor, service over power, love over safety. To pray like this, read the Gospels slowly and imaginatively. Place yourself in the stories. Ask, how would Jesus respond in my situation? How can I love as he loved? Then act on what you sense. Prayer becomes not something you say, but something you do. Another essential dimension is finding God in all things. Francis saw creation not as a backdrop to spiritual life, but as a revelation of the Creator. He spoke to the sun and moon as siblings because he recognized the same divine life pulsing through them as through himself. This is not mere poetry, it's a mystical awareness that everything belongs, everything speaks of God. To nurture this, spend time in nature with attentiveness. Walk without distraction. Listen to the wind, observe the patience of trees, notice the intricate beauty of a flower. Let creation become your chapel. Pray not only in the world, but with the world. Francis also shows us that prayer is embodied. He didn't neglect the physical dimension of spirituality. He fasted, he worked with his hands, he embraced lepers, he cared for animals. He understood that the body too is a means of prayer. Incorporate this into your life by offering simple actions as prayers. Prepare a meal with love. Tend a garden with care, extend a hand in comfort. Care for your body as a gift. Even suffering can be offered up: a headache, a disappointment, a fear, united with Christ's offering on the cross. Community was vital to Francis's prayer life. He prayed alone, but he also prayed with others, his brothers, the poor, the sick. He knew that we encounter Christ not only in solitude, but in the faces of those around us. Make your relationships prayerful. Listen deeply. Forgive quickly. Serve generously. See Christ in the person in front of you, especially the ones the world overlooks. Finally, Francis teaches us to pray with honesty and vulnerability. He didn't hide his struggles, his doubts, or his weaknesses from God. He came as he was in poverty of spirit, knowing that God meets us not in our strength, but in our need. Bring your whole self to prayer, your joy, your pain, your anger, your hope. Speak to God as you would to a loving parent or a trusted friend. Prayer is not about having the right words. It's about having an open heart. Living a life of prayer like St. Francis, then, is not about adding more prayers to your day, but about letting prayer saturate your day. It is waking in gratitude, working with love, resting in trust, seeing God everywhere and offering everything back to Him. It is a gradual, lifelong process of conversion, allowing God to reshape your desires, heal your wounds, and free you to love without reserve. In the end, Francis reminds us that prayer is not a task to achieve, but a relationship to inhabit. It is the slow and beautiful work of letting our lives become a continuous yes to God until, like Francis, we too can say with our whole being, "My God and my all." Amen.